Good evening. Kia ora, konnichiwa, namaste, hello, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for the fourth webinar highlighting women in drowning prevention. My name is Stacey Pigeon. I'm the Research and Policy Manager at Royal Lifesaving Australia, and I will be your host today. Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge First Nations people of Australia and also around the world for their continuing connection and custodianship of land and waterways of which we all live, play, and work. Some housekeeping points for those who have just joined us. We will be recording today's webinar and we'll make it available on our website along with the others that we've held afterwards. So give us a few days and it'll be up on our website for you to share with your networks. So today's webinar will be consisting of 3 short panels of 6 amazing women that we'll talk to very shortly. We will end the session by bringing all the panelists together at the end. And please introduce yourself in the chat, where you're from, and have fun. We've got some amazing people that we're going to speak to, so sit back and enjoy the next hour or so. So without further ado, I would like to introduce 2 women from 2 very different countries who are leading national prevention efforts in different environments and having different approaches. So I'd like to welcome Mia Bergman, an experienced leader with a diverse background in Norwegian business and organizational leadership. Since January 2024, she has led Flytte, a national umbrella organization uniting 20 Norwegian organizations dedicated to drowning prevention. She's passionate about global knowledge sharing, and Mia actively supports other countries in establishing similar organizations, believing that cross-sector partnerships are key to effective drowning prevention. I'd also like to welcome Zuna, the project co-leader of the Ocean Women Project and the founder of Salted Ventures Swimmers, a swim school based in the Maldives. So as I said, 2 very different countries, one more cooler and one more tropical. A previous competitive swimmer, Zuna completed her swim instructor training in 2016 and established a swimming school combining her passion for the ocean and teaching. Since 2022, Zuna has been co-leading the Ocean Women Project, training swimming and snorkeling instructors in different islands to sustainably teach their communities while fostering a meaningful connection with the ocean. So welcome Mia and welcome Zuna. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it and I can't wait to hear more. I'll start with you, Mia. Starting in Norway, you, I guess, lead a national organization. Can you tell the audience more about Flytte, what it is and what is your role?
Thank you for having me. I'm the CEO of Flytte, which is a Norwegian national umbrella organization for drowning prevention. And Flytte was established in 2022, and then with 6 organizations. Today we are 20, and we are different agencies, rescue services, and NGOs, and we have a shared goal all together, reducing drowning in Norway through collaboration. Each and every organization have their field, like the diving association or the sailing or the rescue association, but the joint focus here is drowning prevention, and Flytte's sole role and focus is drowning prevention. My role is to build trust, to strengthen partnership, and advocate a coordinated national approach to drowning prevention.
Great, thank you, Mia. It sounds like a very, very challenging role. We'll go to Zuna in the tropical Maldives, more at a community level, but doing some really great advocacy work as well. So can you tell us a little bit about the 2 ventures that you're involved in, both the Ocean Women Project and also your swim school, Salted Ventures Swimming?
Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Hi everyone, I'm Zuna. I am the founder of Salted Ventures Swimmers. We offer swim lessons to all ages and also offer SSI certified swim and snorkel instructor development and training programs. And I've been actively teaching, training, and leading Salted Ventures Swimmers for close to a decade now. And to give you a better context, Maldives is an island nation of about 1,200 islands, dispersed over 90,000 square kilometers with only 1% land and 99% water. And yet we don't emphasize enough on the importance of learning to swim as an essential life-saving skill. Our number one mode of transport is sea transport. And in 2022, I partnered with the Mantha Trust and Flossie Barad from the Mantha Trust to call it the Ocean Women Project. Ocean Women Project's purpose is to make the transformational benefit of the ocean available for women and girls all over the world for years to come. And through the project, we are learning to understand how can learning to swim and experiencing the sea impact women and girls in tropical coastal communities? What are the barriers? And how can people be helped to enable to overcome those barriers? And what would be the impact of our female-led swim and snorkel instructor training program?
It's great to hear you. And I may add that the contrast of the Maldives is that Norway has the world's second largest coastline with over 100,000 lakes and a very strong water culture. And despite being a high income country with a strong tradition in water, outdoor and water activities, we still lose about 90 to 100 lives every year in drowning, which gives us a drowning rate of 1.76 per 100,000 Norway, which is way too high.
Yeah, I think you actually pointed it out for me, Mia, that there's definitely, when you think about Norway and the Maldives, they're quite different. But then you've actually put it really nicely that there are some synergies in terms of water safety and drowning prevention, and similarities there as well. And at the end of the day, we're all here to do the same thing as reduce drowning, perhaps in slightly different ways. So Mia, in terms of your role, what's some of the challenges and opportunities that you've experienced, particularly advocating at a national level and managing all those different stakeholders?
Well, being quite a new organization, it's a matter of defining the role of organization and building trust with all our 20 member organizations that Flyte will actually strengthen the drowning prevention work in the country by coordinating and sharing both facts, knowledge, insights, as well as information campaigns. And before that is established, that trust, you may feel like, is Flyte going to compete with us? Is this actually going to gain the work we're doing? But we see, and we actually did a large report, that if we're going to succeed with drowning prevention, we need actually the collaboration and working cross organization as well as sectors. And this is, and my idea and the organization's idea is that we just need to build this step by step, which is also a way to build trust. And through the trust, we can do more together and not look at Flyte as a competitor, but rather a strong force for the main goal to reduce drowning.
I think that's right. That's often probably a challenge for a lot of similar organizations around the world. So I think you've had some really good points there. And going to Zuna and the Maldives, you've got a big challenge there in terms of, all the different, the vast amount of water that you talked about. But then again, not many people knowing the importance or understanding the importance of, learning to swim and water safety for reducing drowning. So you touched on it a little bit in your last question, but can you talk through some of the barriers that women and girls in particular in the Maldives face when participating in water activities?
Firstly, I would say it would be a huge geographical barrier that we have. In the capital city, Male, and in Hulu Male, swim lessons are available to anyone who'd like to learn to swim. but it is not the case elsewhere in the other islands. The availability of lack of availability is a challenge, and lack of safe space and access to those safe spaces is also a challenge. And fear is a huge component. A fear of drowning, fear of near drowning, traumatic experiences, and community perceptions, societal stigmas, gender norms, and carrying responsibilities for women and girls. It's also a huge reason why they are not able to be in the water, though they want to be. And lack of awareness and benefits the ocean itself holds is also a barrier. And when we notice that there are lots of mothers who do not know how to swim, and due to fear, they are hesitant to send their children near bodies of water, and these children grow up not having an experience to experience or explore the sea, and not having a chance to learn to swim. And it's beginning of a generational vicious cycle that have been going on in our communities for generations. And if there are willing mothers who are willing to learn to swim and become swim teachers to teach the community to swim. Also, for women and girls, parents are hesitant to send their daughters to male swim teachers. So, if there are willing mothers in the community to come forward and become the swim teachers, the parents will be more comfortable to send their daughters, and those willing mothers could be the role models the community needs, the future generation needs to help in more work on drowning prevention.
That's great. Thank you very much. It gives everyone a really good picture of some of the challenges that probably is not unique to the Maldives either. So I think that, and particularly that generational change, and it's great to hear that you're such an advocate for that as well. I have a question for both of you. So maybe Mia, if you wanted to go first, what's the biggest success that you have achieved so far in your drowning prevention advocacy work, particularly in your role? And I'll also ask the same question to you, Zuna, after as well.
Well, I've only been there for a little bit more than a year, but still, I'm really proud to be a part of building Flyte as Norway's first coordinated national effort in drowning prevention. And it's really about change leadership because it's a new way of thinking, new way of working together. And for me to see that what we do together really strengthen our impact rather than compete with the separate efforts. And I'm really proud of now seeing more and more organizations getting in touch, saying that, okay, you need to come here, you need to be a part of our event, or you need, we really like to write about it because they see that what we do together strengthen the total work. Another part that I'm really proud of is, of course, the collaboration itself between the organization now, without Flyte and with Flyte, as well as now taking initiative to build knowledge sharing across the Nordic countries. Flyte has been in the business for about 3 years, and we have already established our national drowning prevention as the key sharing area of or event of insights and facts. So we're proving that we need to be where we are, but we do need national funding. So far, we are only receiving income from gifts and sponsors.
Well, thank you, Mia. It sounds like Flyte and yourself in the role of are really leading the way in drowning prevention in Norway. So congratulations. And Zuna, to you, what's been the biggest, I guess, achievement that you've been proud of with either project?
So many things I'm proud of: the establishment of SVS and the opportunity to train so many swim instructors who are actively working in the field. It makes my heart. And the Ocean Women Project, the females that we have already trained as swim instructors, they've established their own swim school called the Rasdu Blue Tide from Alif Alif Rasdu, and they have already run 14 successful learn to swim programs in their community and taught more than 100 people, including women and children in their community, to learn to swim and snorkel. And end of last year, for the first time in the history of the island, they have participated. The students who learn to swim have participated in the National Swim Festival held in Male, and those kids, they did amazing. It was such a beautiful thing to see everyone cheering for them, and to enable that experience for those children.
Thank you, Zuna. Thank you, Mia. I mean, it's great to hear about the advocacy for drowning prevention and water safety, both from the national policy perspective and bringing organisations to work with collaboratively right through down to the local level. It sounds like you're both making a big impact in your respective countries and communities. And I'm sorry that we don't have more time to hear more about it. But thank you both very much. We'll bring you back on with the rest of the speakers a little bit later on. But our next panel is really looking at women in life-saving organisations, so life-saving and rescue. I'd like to introduce Yasuko Nakagawa, the Director of International Affairs at Japan Lifesaving Association. She has extensive experience in life-saving for over 30 years and still participates in her beach patrol competes at master's level. She instructs life-saving courses at the beach and the pool. She does club management as a director at JLA, and she liaises with organisations and individuals to prevent drowning. So lots of organisation at Japan Lifesaving Association, which is awesome. And then I'd also like to introduce Leslie Sween, the Marine Safety Captain of the City of Huntington Beach Fire Department. Leslie is the Marine Safety Captain at the Huntington Beach Safety Department. She's been working as a lifeguard since 2010. Leslie is passionate about drowning prevention, not only in the ocean, but in all types of water. And in her free time, Leslie loves swimming in the ocean and going to Disneyland. And I do know a couple of lifeguards from both Australia and New Zealand who've had the pleasure of had a tour of Disneyland with Leslie. So it's always nice to hear about what you do in your real life outside of drowning prevention. So welcome both. It's great to have you here as well, particularly for Leslie, because it is the middle of the night. So thank you both very much. So I'll start with Yasuko from Japan. Can you briefly tell everyone about the Japan Lifesaving Association, how long you've been involved for, and what your current role is?
Okay, Japan Lifesaving Association is a full member of the International Lifesaving Federation. We have license and we for lifesavers for the beach and the pools. And for me, for the role, I'm one of the directors for the international affairs. So we liaise with other organizations. And one of the things we did was translating the resolution when it came out, and we just read it to our stakeholders.
Great. Thank you very much, Yasuko. Leslie, you're the first female marine safety captain at your lifeguard department. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Yes, so I've been a lifeguard since 2010, so I spent 16 years lifeguarding in Huntington Beach. Before that, I also spent 9 years in our junior lifeguard program, so I've spent every summer for the past 20 plus, almost 30 years on the beach in Huntington. And so for me, growing up in that program, there was always a lot of awesome people to look up to, but there was never a female who was there all year round and who was there permanently. And someone for me to look up to in that capacity. And so as I moved up in the organization, I was like, that's something I'm really interested in. What can I do to get myself to that point, whether that was different types of training or things like that. And now I'm very fortunate to be in a position to be that person for other people to see, hey, that's something I can do. There's very few people in our fire department. There's 2 other females total on the full-time staff side. So of the sworn, like the fire suppression. So I'm the one on the marine safety, and there's the 2. And so, how can we continue to encourage females to pursue these roles in public safety? It's something that I'm extremely passionate about.
Thank you. Yeah, it definitely sounds like it's a challenge, and also Yasuko as well, with the different roles that you've been involved in through the Japan Life Saving Association. And I guess going to you, Yasuko, can you tell me a little bit about your journey coming through at a club level? What changes have you seen, particularly for women?
Yes, I started more than 30 years ago. Don't count the age. So when I started
For
on my beach, we got the bronze medallion, the same as men, but we started off with a pink t-shirt, not a yellow one, and we called ourselves Paranos. It seems as though it's only our patrol beach. Other beaches have yellow t-shirts for the women. But for us, we started off with the pink t-shirt, and there were some that continued, like women who were very strong and fit, started off with Lifesavers the following year. And then it took 3 or 4 years for me to get everyone to get a yellow t-shirt. So that's kind of a culture on our beach. Maybe the local didn't want the women. I'm not sure about that, but we started off with the pink one, and everyone has a yellow t-shirt now. So
I'm pleased to hear that. It sounds like there's sort of some similarities in terms of potentially women sort of progressing, although I'm pleased to hear that things have become a little bit more equal in your life-saving club, Yasuko. I guess, Leslie, I just wanted to pick up on some of the points that you talked about. You sort of came through the junior program, and then now you said there's very few females at your level or even below that. Can you talk to some of the barriers that there are for females maybe coming from that junior level?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We look and, in the junior guard program, it's kind of a 50-50 split as people, as you move through that. And even as you get to the highest level of that, where you're kind of in a semi-internship level at our junior guard captain level, where they get to shadow the lifeguards and they get to participate, be in the towers with our current lifeguards. And then you get to our academy, and what's really cool this year, we have around 30 lifeguards currently in the academy, and of those 30, 11 are females, which is awesome to see, because when I started, there was 4 females in a class of close to 40. So each year it fluctuates, but each year we're starting to see more and more females continue to pursue that. But I think as they move up, it's whether it's choosing what career path they're going down. Maybe it is they're not seeing people and seeing that for themselves as something. That's where I'm hoping, me being in this position, people can see, oh, this is a career path. Like it's not just my summer job during college, university time of my life, but maybe there is a potential for it, or even a potential for them to move into the other aspects of the EMS, so fire or police, any of those other options. So it's interesting to see, we're slowly starting to see more and more females staying in it, but as there's only a finite number of positions. I mean, there's a total of 20 permanents in Huntington Beach. And those positions, once filled, like I'm going to be there, hopefully, if all goes well, for another 20 plus 25 years. And so now that's one spot that's not able to be filled by anyone else. And so kind of there is a timeline waiting, figuring out ways to make yourself the best candidate when one of those positions comes up. So you kind of have to be willing to wait, but also for me, like I figured out, okay, let me go get a master's degree. Let me see what else can I do to set myself up so that when this position does become available. And I mean, the standards are the same no matter what for the physical aspects of it for females and males. And so having that be, generally there's things that the men are stronger in certain aspects, whether that's pulling someone out of the water, maybe they're just naturally faster swimmers, and I have to work a bit harder to stay up there and be up there with them, but knowing you have to be at a certain physical level at a minimum, I think also maybe potentially can like scare some candidates away, that it's not something maybe they're like, oh, I'm not at that level. And so my hope is to continue to encourage women that yes, you can do that and swim there just like the boys.
That's awesome. And it sounds like you're a great role model to look up to, particularly for those junior lifeguards coming through as well. Yasuko, we talked a little bit offline about some of the barriers that women may face at a club level, at the volunteer level. Are you able to share some of those?
Yes, I'm a mother of a 6-year-old at the moment. Yes, barriers always happen when you have a child. And when you try to face the PC, I think there's a power cord on her too, that she comes to me, so we can't start our work. But there's always support from the family. For example, my husband, my parents, my sister. And also from my club level, the parents of the nippers will help me out. They will look after my child when she was a baby. Then I'll do the training courses for their children. So, and then now the parents who looked after my children, they want to do something, and they were kind of eager to help the club. And some turned out to be lifesavers, and some help us with the first aid. So it's always help. Like there were barriers, but they helped me, and now I encourage them. Like Leslie said, encouraging is very important. And then it's like a circle, that there are barriers, but you can overcome, supporting each other.
That's great. And I think you're right, it sort of comes in full circle when you've got people supporting each other at that club level as well, because you want to participate. And many years ago, when I used to do lifeguard club instructing as well, it was really heartwarming to see parents sort of coming through and be qualified with their children as well, and training them, and now they're patrol captains themselves. So it sounds like you're a fantastic model at your role model at your club level, with all the different roles that you've had right up to the national level. So that's great that you've got that support. Leslie, I'm going to hand it back to you. You've just developed a children's book, and you talk about being a role model. Can you talk to us about your book?
Yes, so this came about, I've had the idea for a really long time, just never seeing beach safety books out there. And so whenever I would go read or get asked, like February is the We Love Our Libraries month. So a lot of times they'll bring us to the different library branches in the city. Schools will ask us to come do readings. And whenever, they try to relate it, there's a couple of books about like fire, like Stop, Drop, and Roll, and safety around fire. And there's other books about safety, but I never found a lifeguard book. There was always, oh, here's a book about mermaids or dolphins and the animals in the ocean. And I'm like, that's really awesome, but I'd love to be able to have this. And so with my name being Leslie, I've always jokingly, when I explain to people, a way to remember me when I introduce myself is I'm like, hi, I'm Lifeguard Leslie. And so that's kind of how the idea of it started, with the alliteration, so that you can remember Lifeguard Leslie. And then I came up with a book that's got, I think it's about 16 pages with different beach safety tips. We talk about rip currents. I tried to make it, if you know Huntington Beach, that's what our towers look like, and you'd recognize that. But I tried to make it generic. I know it's a little bit different with the areas that use the flag system, but a lot of the safety tips, swim near a lifeguard, have an adult watching you. It's got some safety tips about different animals in the ocean, and so it's been pretty cool. I finished it last year, and we funded it through the Fire Outreach Foundation here in Huntington Beach, and I'm hoping to get it up and make it more widely available as well in the future. But it's been cool because I did actually get to read it at an event a couple weeks ago, and got to share it with the kids and get to see their reactions, and sharing it with different friends and their kids has been really fun. I get pictures randomly out of the blue, like this is still their favorite book. They're still loving Learning with Lifeguard Leslie. And so just seeing that is really cool, to to see that, okay, these kids, you know, even if it's starting them young and they're starting to hear the messaging about it, maybe it'll give them, you know, a little bit more when they get to the beach, and maybe they'll be like, oh, I should put sunscreen on, you know, I should drink some water, that kind of thing.
That's great. It'll be the day when you have people say they'll dress up as Leslie the lifeguard for Book Week or for Halloween, maybe. Who knows? All right, the last question for both of you before we head on to our final panel. And I mean, you both might have touched on this already, but in terms of what initiative or project are you most proud of and that you have achieved in your role? So Yosuke, would you like to talk to that first?
Yes, so there was the drowning prevention UN resolution that came out. I was so excited, but it was in English. So in Japan, we have a language barrier. So we made a task force and we translated it and we distributed to the stakeholders. That was very exciting. And I did a project in Micronesia with my friend, people who I admire. And we work with women there because they're the women who are the people who have impact in their families. And we're trying to continue that this year after COVID. So
That's great. I mean, that the fact that you sort of realized that the declaration was only available in English and not in Japanese, that's a huge achievement. So well done to you and your colleagues on that. The project in Micronesia, so you're working with women. Can you give us just a little bit more information about that project? So what kind of things are you working with the women on?
yeah, so it was 2019 we started that project. So we wanted to see if we need to do water safety project or not. The conclusion was yes, because there was lots of drowning deaths, but there wasn't really a toll or a number for it. It was like somebody died or God took her or him. So we tried to talk with the Women's Council, and we had the woman because Micronesia is a lot of islands. The islands come to the people come to the bigger islands, and they do lots of work. They have sanitary projects going on. So we were talking with them about the water safety, and they really needed the need of it. People didn't know the number of how to call the ambulance. There was the driver, but there was nobody in the ambulance to do anything if somebody's on it. So the bystander needs to do something really it's very important for the bystander. So they didn't realize until we talked to them, but they now realize. So we're trying to continue to do something. So we just did some basic CPR, but now we continue to do how to swim, and we're trying to talk to the government. We had a little contact, so we'll try to continue this year.
Great. It sounds like a really interesting and well-needed project. So good luck for that for the rest of the year. Leslie, I mean, the book is probably one of your key projects, I'd imagine, but is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of any other projects that you are most proud of?
Yeah, there's a program that myself and 3 other lifeguards worked on starting in 2015. We call it SALT, which stands for Surfers Awareness in Life-Saving Techniques. And it also touches on that bystander rescue piece. We found that, you know, surfers are in the water year round, before lifeguards, after lifeguards, all over the world, remote locations. So we created this program based on some similar programs in other areas, and we kind of packaged it as an hour in a classroom, hour in the water, where we use the techniques that we as lifeguards learn. So there's this one technique that we use to put an unconscious person on a board, and it's like, why do we as lifeguards need to keep that to ourselves? We have all these people that are on boards all the time. Let's teach them how to use their boards to make a difference. And so that's the SALT program. It's really cool to see the wave that it's gone on, where it's like we created it, it was cool, then it was like you don't see some, and now it continues to. I've gotten to share it a lot of different places and gotten to help other people start it or help them create iterations, because the whole goal of it is like, I don't want anything from it. Here's the Google Drive, have all the information, take the program, make it your own so that it's tailored to the hazards in your community. But also knowing that the surfers that I'm teaching here in Huntington Beach are probably going to travel around the world to different places and could come across rescues that they can make a difference in people's lives. And so that's one of the big programs that I'm really proud of our team for making, and getting to be a part of that and continuing to share it almost 10 years later is really cool to see that it's still, still relevant and people are still really interested in it.
That's great. Well, thank you both very much for sharing your story about being in life-saving organizations and being role models for other females and other young people coming through, both from a volunteer and a career progression. So thank you very much. We'll bring you back on a little bit later on, but very inspiring. Thank you so much. So our last panel, but not least, two inspiring ladies as well. Medhavi Gupta is an injury prevention researcher at the George Institute for Global Health in India. She has a PhD in drowning prevention, with her research focusing on understanding and addressing drowning in low and middle income countries. Her work emphasizes the implementation of evidence-based drowning prevention programs, aiming to reduce drowning-related fatalities through policy, advocacy, community interventions, and sustainable public health strategies. So research and policy, and then we talk about, I'd like to introduce you to Inya Jones. She is the founder of Splash of Colour Swimming in Newcastle here in Australia, a transformative not-for-profit learn-to-swim program that addresses mental, financial and cultural barriers to swimming, promoting social inclusion, well-being and water safety. Inya is dedicated to empowering culturally and linguistically diverse communities in Australia with the skills and confidence to swim, reducing drowning risks and fostering a lifelong connection to swimming. So two, I suppose, different perspectives, but it's important to have one or have both really. So I'll start with you, Medhavi. You've recently completed a PhD focusing on drowning prevention in low and middle income countries, mostly in India. Are you able to share with the audience about, some of the key findings of your research, but also what was the motivation for doing drowning prevention research in India?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. So just to give you a bit of a background, I'm sure you're all familiar with the WHO drowning report, and in that it clearly shows that more than 90% of drownings happen in LMICs, low middle income countries. And yet we don't do a lot of research in those countries. We have done very little work as a community in terms of understanding the burden, in terms of understanding the risk factors, and also the research that has been done sort of treats LMIC context as one homogenous context, but actually that is not the case. You have a whole range of different environments, how people are at risk of drowning in those environments. So yeah, my PhD was focusing on one very similar type of context, which was the Sundarbans region, across both Bangladesh and West Bengal in India. So geographically very similar, very like a low deltaic area, lots of water, high poverty rates, but two very different political contexts, two different governments. So it was a very interesting study of how systems and governance and policy can impact drowning prevention work, even in a context that's quite similar, a geographic context that's quite similar. So in the Sundarbans in India, we did find very high rates of child drowning. We found a rate of almost 240 per 100,000 population for children aged 1 to 4 years old, and I think it was around 50 to 55 for 5 to 9-year-olds. And when we, asked parents, were these deaths reported, less than 10% had been issued a death certificate. So you can understand, that there is a hidden burden, and even the estimate that we're getting from WHO and from PPD data is probably an underestimate. And it just speaks to how important it is that we start investigating more deeply what are the drowning burdens across LMIC contexts.
Thanks, Medhavi. I think what the research that you've done has really been vital in terms of really establishing an evidence base for for drowning prevention. We often talk about if we don't have the evidence, how can we justify funding, or people don't realize the burden of the problem. So your research has been really vital in terms of both in India and in Bangladesh in terms of really establishing that evidence for change. So I think that's really great. Was there anything surprising or unexpected that came out of your research?
Well, firstly, the numbers, I think. Secondly, also just the vulnerability of the communities, and how it's not just one factor. So it's very easy, to blame drowning events on just things like presence of open water, poverty. A lot of individuals that we talk to in communities themselves would say things like, "Oh, it's the parents' fault. You can't do anything about it." So it's kind of that understanding that it's not just about it's also about changing attitudes and education awareness, but also changing beliefs around drowning. That will be very difficult here. I think that is something that we don't face so much in high income contexts. So I'll give you one example. There was a woman that we interviewed around the death of her child, and her child was 6 months old, maybe, 9 months old. He fell into the water, but she herself was not the first one to jump into the water. She called another adult to go and rescue her child, because there was a belief in this community that mothers should not be the ones to pull their child out of the water, because there was some belief that this would reduce the likelihood of the child's survival, and it would anger certain deities associated with the water. So these very unique cultural components, which will be very context specific, need to be understood when you're looking at drowning prevention. You can't just go in with an intervention and expect people to take it up. You have to understand what are the thought processes you're also trying to change.
Well, that's really interesting. And it actually probably leads us really nicely into the next question that I had for Enya in terms of changing experiences and knowledge and behaviour through her swimming and water safety program. Enya, you were recently a finalist in the New South Wales Women of the Year Awards here in Australia. Congratulations for your work establishing Splash of Colour.
Hi, everybody.
Can you tell us about Splash of Colour and your motivation behind it? And I know some of that was to do with changing knowledge and attitudes and participation as well. So there are some synergies.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Stacey. And hi, everyone. So A Splash of Colour Swimming is a learn to swim program for CALD women in Australia. So Australia is a swimming nation. You can't escape it. I think every Olympics, there's been an Australian on the podium in some way or the other. But when you look at the disparity in communities, you'll see that there's not that many people of color who go to swimming pools or who are even interested in swimming, taking it up as a sport. You'll see CALD people in, soccer, netball, but swimming remains a sport that's sort of put to the side. And so that's where we come in. We facilitate, we help to break barriers such as financial barriers, social barriers, cultural barriers, financial barriers, and emotional barriers as well. A lot of CALD people we've found have got water-based trauma and it's unresolved. There's that stigma around talking about mental health issues, and that obviously has also creeped into why people don't swim. They may have had a near drowning experience, or know someone who has unfortunately drowned, and there's just a lot of fear. And so that's where we come in and hopefully help to break those barriers. We also train the trainers as well. We do a cultural awareness program for the swimming instructors, just so when the two parties come together, they know about each other, and hopefully that's a good base to start a really good mutually trusting relationship.
Thanks, Enya. It sounds like you've really built up a community of swimmers, and you've made it a really welcoming environment for your swimmers to overcome some of those barriers and that fear of water. Can you tell us about maybe some of the changes that you've seen in your swimmers, and what does it mean for them to be coming to a program like yours?
I mean, one of the most visible changes, I must say, is just the body confidence. And so one of the things that we do before they even get into the pool, we have a webinar. We invite all of our participants for that term to join the webinar. And we go through swimming pool etiquette, managing your hair. Hair is a big deal. I'll go into hair later. And swimming costumes. And so we talk them through all the different types of swimming costumes that are available now. I'm so glad that we live in an inclusive time where you can have swim leggings, you can have swim dresses and tankini tops, etc. And so we talk them through all the different swim types, because modesty is quite important at the beginning. And you'll find them all quite covered up, and they put the towel to the side in a hurry and get into the pool. But by week 10, someone's changed their swimming costume, they've got a sort of more traditional swimming costume, or they're not in a hurry as much to sort of cover themselves. And it's just that growing body confidence and body acceptance that we really like to see. Another change that we do see is just, I don't know what it is, but it must be swimming must just switch something in the women where they think, okay, what else can I do? Because I've overcome this huge barrier, this thing that I made a big deal about. Now I can do it. What else can I do? And I think one of our participants who stands out, she ended up going in a hot air balloon for a sunrise thing because, now I can swim the next thing on the list was heights, and she did that. And it's just fantastic to see just the mental changes in the women who take part in our program.
It's fantastic to hear. I mean, there is a little bit of research around, I guess, the mental health benefits of swimming and being in the water, but to hear it firsthand and to hear about some of your swimmers who perhaps have only just learned to swim and been in the water, that sounds fantastic. And it probably leads me back to Medharvi talking about doing research in a little bit of a different setting, being in a lower middle income setting. But in terms of your research, have you seen any changes as a result of your research? So that could be, I don't know, have you seen changes maybe in parents' attitudes and knowledge, or have they changed anything in regards to drowning prevention in the communities that you've been working with?
Yeah, definitely. You can take Bangladesh as a really solid example. We've been working, there's an organization called CIPRB who's been working in the Barisal region of Bangladesh for, I think, almost 2 decades now. And they have done a fabulous job in changing attitudes, perceptions towards drowning prevention. In some communities, it's become a norm that as soon as a child turns 5 or 6 years old, they get enrolled into the Swim Safe program, they learn how to swim. There is more awareness now of proper rescue and resuscitation methods. Traditional methods aren't very evidence-based, they're not very effective. And there is growing awareness in that region on, some of these traditional methods actually don't work. We need to use CPR, or we need to call someone who knows CPR. So, I mean, it's a long, long road. In Sundarbans, we've only just started on that road, but we've seen that it can happen. So it's good to have that roadmap already. The people in Bangladesh have done a fantastic job.
That's great. I mean, I think there's definitely some similarities in both of the work you're doing, despite the different context. So we'll finish off with this panel. What initiative or project are you both most proud of? We've heard a little bit about the research. We've heard a little bit about from Enya in terms of getting people in the water. Is there anything else you'd like to add? And Med, since you're on my screen, do you want to go first?
Sure. There was one incident I remember during my PhD. So one of the data collectors was in a community doing the survey when a child fell into the water. And because he had been given, that training on what should be done in a drowning event, he immediately called an auto rickshaw, basically a small local 3-wheeler vehicle. He himself rescued the child and insisted that the child be immediately taken to hospital. So it was nice to know that, just the presence of our study potentially saved a child's life. So I think for me, that's it's a memory that sticks.
It's fantastic. And obviously that child may be in a different situation if that person wasn't there. So that's great to hear. What about yourself, Enya?
It would have to be just the sheer volume of women who have come through our program, finished our program, turned around and enrolled their children in swimming lessons. And for me, that's just a massive, big green tick that the message is getting through. And which is why we particularly chose to focus on the parents. Our program is for adults only at this stage. If you can change the mind of the parent, especially in CALD communities, you have a better chance of getting the kids into swimming. And if mum knows what to do around the water, mum and dad, then the child is like they'll sign up the child for swim lessons, and that's what we want. We want more children swimming.
That's great. Well, more children and more parents so they can both have fun in the water, but know what to do if something happens. That's awesome. That's great. Thank you both very much. What I'm actually going to ask everyone to do who was on our panel tonight or today is all come back on camera, and we're going to finish off and do, I like to call this a rapid fire round, where we ask the same question to everyone, just as something to wrap up everything. And since we've finished with you, Enya, we might go back to the start, and we will start with Mia. The question is, in the context of water safety or drowning prevention, what would you like to see going forward for future generations? And so this could be specific to women and girls, or it can be more broad. So Mia, would you like to go first?
Thank you. Yes, and since I'm representing Flyte, the umbrella organization, and what I see, so I'm not working in the operative work, but for me and for Flyte, is that water competence and drowning prevention should be given the same priority as road traffic safety in terms of investment and actions. And for also, I want to add that we need stronger programs and financial support to build water competence in kindergarten and enhance swimming education in the school. Lower alcohol limits on the water, matching those on the road, and that wearing a life jacket should be as natural as wearing a helmet when you're biking. That's my
All
4.
very important points that are across all the issues across the world. So thank you very much for those points. I'm sure we would all agree that we would love to see that in place across the world. We'll go to Zuna, if you're still online.
I'm here.
Zuna, what would you like to see for future?
We are working on an ocean connection strategy to document everything we've learned through the Ocean Women Project, which could be an accessible document which outlines the key learnings and which can be replicated by coastal communities that have similar challenges and help them overcome their challenges. And at national and international level, I would suggest more collaborations, more education, more awareness programs, changes in policy, which allows more support in finance to grassroots women-led initiatives, and through the school systems, learn to swim, more programs to be pushed through the school system, so every kid that finished school have the opportunity to learn to swim.
Great, thank you. Another one which I think we would all agree is very, very important. Leslie, we'll go to you next.
I was going to say getting, some sort of standardized level for swim lessons through, whether that's for us, whatever, 2nd, 3rd grade, just so that it's part of education on the drowning prevention front. But then on a life-saving professional level for women, I think one thing that I've noticed, it comes down to, it's women's uniforms. And this is something that's really specific, kind of like what Isuka touched on with the pink shirts and wearing something different. I found trying to get a search and rescue dry suit, the company that we get it from, I have to look like the rest of my team. We have to wear the same color, the same uniform. They don't make a women's search and rescue dry suit. They have women's, they have women's dry suits, but they couldn't make it in a search and rescue. And it's like, do you think women don't do search and rescue? And so something like on the professional side that I would love to see by the end of my career is just the opportunity for women to have uniforms that fit them. The way the men's dry suits are cut don't necessarily fit women, and it makes it challenging when I'm trying to respond, trying to get it on like in a quick manner. So that's something that's very particular. These uniforms, this is a women's one. That was a big win for me when I found that they did have those. But just seeing that across the board, and I know that's on a very specific like professional level for that, but I think just having access to that for women in these roles shows that we are respected and represented in the same way, having access to the same kinds of uniforms.
That is a very good point, and probably one that's not talked about enough. So thank you very much for raising that. Definitely, and I hope to make a women's dry suit for you soon. Where are we? Yosuku, we'll go to you next.
Yes, water safety is like essential. So it should be kind of mandatory at school level. And then at the house too, like a mother teaches how a child how to brush her teeth. Like it could be natural for a parent or any adult to teach something, like checking the weather before going out, looking for a lifeguard when you're on the beach, checking for rip currents. It's kind of it's a normal thing for everyone to do. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I think that would be great for everyone to have that, just that instinct or that natural knowledge that can then be passed on to future generations. Very good. All right, we'll go back to you, Medhavi.
I think my comment is, I guess, more general and I think applicable across multiple areas of research. But I would love better access to research learnings, especially in lower middle income contexts. It's very difficult for practitioners here to access literature, to access what is being developed in more better funded project countries, just because a lot of it's behind paywalls or it's inaccessible in difficult, complicated language. It would be amazing if, I was even thinking, AI is becoming a very powerful tool in order to summarize information. If there was a way that we can, use AI, develop some sort of drowning information repository and you can ask that AI questions, what are the most evidence-based interventions for this problem or for this context, and what do we know about, this burden in this region or whatever it is. Just to have some sort of tools that would enable people from lower middle income countries to access information easily would be an amazing addition.
Thank you. And again, probably something that isn't widely talked about or widely thought about. So thank you for bringing up that point. And to finish up our panel, we will go to you, Enya, to give the last word.
No pressure. Thanks, Stacey. For me, I'm looking forward to and actively working towards a future where we create a legacy of water safety and swimming, especially in CALD communities. There are certain parts of our community here in Australia where you'll hear people saying, I could swim before I could walk. It's just a second nature thing. Parents don't even debate about swimming lessons or not. It's just something that happens. And I'm looking forward to seeing that replicated in CALD communities where swimming lessons, going to the beach, going to the pool, you don't think twice about it. It's just something that you do as a family and as a community. And I'm looking forward to seeing that day arrive.
Thank you very much. That generational change, getting everyone, as you say, so everyone has access and equity to the water, most definitely, both in Australia, other high-income countries, and around the world. I think we've heard about that tonight or today for some people. So I want to thank all of our panelists across the different countries, across the globe. It's really amazing to hear all the work that is going on, and from a national level right down to the local community level, training, whether that be lifeguards or swim teachers or parents, to be more confident in the water. At the end of the day, we're all working towards reducing drowning in our own communities, but that also makes a big difference at a global level as well. And while we're all working at different levels and in different settings, hopefully things like this is where we can learn from each other as well. So thank you all very much. And also everyone for your time as well on the webinar. I know we've got people from all around the world actually listening live at the moment. So thank you everyone who has joined us. I would like to acknowledge everyone, and particularly women who are playing a role in drowning prevention and those who support us in the work that we do. So whether or not that's family, colleagues, friends, other volunteers, we can't do our work without those people. Also, the recording of this webinar will be available on our website soon. Give us a few days or early next week, and then you can share it with everyone who wasn't able to make it. So please stay safe. Thank you all for your work in water safety and drowning prevention across the world and in your respective areas. You're all doing an amazing job, and we really appreciate hearing all your stories today. So thank you so much, and I will let you go. Thank you to everyone who's joined us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Inspiring stories, really impressive.
And I thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be on this panel. So, and thank you all for your inspiring. I've been writing down notes like crazy here. So thank you so much.
I hope to see you soon somewhere.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it was
everyone.
lovely.
And don't hesitate to contact if I can be of any help.
It's wonderful to meet you all and know the wonderful work that you all are doing. See you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Shit.